Happy Sunday. It is June 13th, and you know what time it is. It's time for another garden tour. We're going to start outside in the pasture this time, and I'm going to show you where we're going to be expanding the garden to. We're going to be building the boxes throughout this season, and then we will set them up, and they'll be ready for next growing season. So let's start the garden tour. This is that crazy, chaotic, beautiful time where the garden really starts going wild. Seems to have happened a little bit earlier this time. I don't know if it's because of the really good soil, the amendments. We're really getting a handle on our soil program, which really makes a big difference. You'll see it in the fruiting and the growth of the plants here. So let's take a look at the garden. Well, like I said, we're starting out in the pasture. We're going to be expanding the garden. You can see the drive gate there, and it's going to go all the way up to where those pallets are, and come all the way out here and then come down. For this growing season, we just have these beds that are out here in the pasture. The gate the fence that separates us right now is going to be coming down as soon as we can get the fence out here put up so that it's secure for the dogs. So this bed here, surprise, surprise, is another pepper bed. These are Greg's peppers, which he's really into this year. We can't wait to make our fermented hot sauces and our ferments with them. And some of them are really starting to pepper up really nice. This one's actually called a Big Jim. And these make really big stuffing or pickling peppers. And this one has a variety of heats in it. Everything from a blot pepper that isn't really spicy all the way up to a Carolina Reaper, which is the spiciest pepper according to Scoville units there are. These plants here on the end are pineapple ground cherries. They have a real kind of velvety leaf to them. They are in the gooseberry family. And they are absolutely delicious. They get these little, see if I can find some for you. These little husks on them. They look almost like a tomatillo. So they grow inside of this husk, and when they drop to the ground, they'll be yellow. You let them sit for a day or two out in the heat, and then you take them out of that husk, and they are absolutely amazing. They have the texture kind of a cherry tomato, and the taste of a pineapple. They're just a really amazing treat. And so we call them garden blessings when we get them. And we have a bunch planted on the other end of this bed as well. Here's a Carolina Reaper right here. And it's actually starting to fruit. These hot peppers take a really long time to fruit. They have a really long growth period. And so there's a Scotch bonnet there. Many of you have heard about those. That's a pepper from Jamaica. And so these will be really good in our ferments. We've got some poblano peppers that are really getting tall. And then through the middle of the beds are the sunflowers. Traditionally, I've always planted the sunflowers through the middles of the bed for the pollinators, as well as a what we call a trap plant for bad insects like your squash bugs really love sunflowers. And so if I plant those, then they tend to go to the sunflowers before they go to the plants. But if everything keeps growing at this rate, I don't have a whole lot of airflow through there. I was actually reading where you can trim up your peppers on the bottom 6 inches and trim these up so there can be airflow through here. So I think we're going to do that with the peppers because it's getting really thick. Wait till you see the other beds. They're even more thick than that. So this is our Dr. Seuss tunnel. Those cattle panels there will be full and covered before the season is over. And what we have in here is squash that keeps growing like by the day. My goodness. I just trellised this thing. It's that time of year where it's time to tuck everything in and try to get it to train well. This is Rompicante squash, and so this will grow all the way, and you see its brother over there, how it's getting so big. And in these beds, I have dwarf dahlias for the pollinators right in here. And then this is an okra bed. This is an Okinawa. It comes from Okinawa, and it's a pink okra. Full of vitamins. Anything, of course, with darker colors in it has more vitamins and typically bioavailability for us. These are cucumbers. These cucumbers actually self-pollinate. These are for our ferments for our customers. And so they're going along great. And as soon as they start producing, they will just go like crazy. And they will produce a lot because you have all female flowers and they don't need a pollinator. I think actually maybe they have 20% male flowers and they don't need a pollinator. So all of the female flowers, if they can stay healthy, will turn into cucumbers. Makes sense, right? These are all of our personal melons, which, as you can see, it's time to train up this trellis. This right here, I'm really excited about. Look at that really cool leaf pattern and that growth habitat. This is called a bitter melon. This is another fruit from Asia. Never had it. It's, I think, also out of Okinawa, along with these wing beans right here. And it's supposed to be super healthy for you. We'll see. We're going to give it a try. They should be super interesting. These plants are just beautiful. The variegation in these leaves is stunning. Absolutely stunning. And you can see the garden back over there. And then here's the other side of the tunnel. Like I said, this will be covered, totally covered by the time this all gets done growing. Well, done. Give it another month and it'll probably be covered. We had an aphid infestation, so that's diatomaceous earth there. But these are 18-inch long Chinese noodle beans, and so they'll be 18 or 19 inches long. These are some Armenian cucumbers here, and some more personal melons. I'll have to look up those names. Some of you asked me on the last video what they were, and I have forgotten what they are. More cucumbers here, and more dwarf dahlias, and then some amaranth on the very end there. This is the out of control bed. This is crazy. Did you know that there's suckers on cucumber plants just like tomato plants, and you should clip them off? I didn't either until now. So this is pineapple ground cherries on the end here, and these are the crazy cucumbers. If it gives you an idea of height, I mean, I'm 5'9", and these things are at least 2.5 feet taller than I am. Now they start off a little bit higher in the beds, I understand that, but these cucumbers are nuts. I'm gonna have to come and thin them out or something, I guess. So the first batch here is crystal apple cucumbers. We've got lots of blooms in there. I don't know if I see any cucumbers. Let's see here. I don't think I see any cucumbers yet on that one. They're probably in there somewhere. This one is called dinosaur egg. Greg and I actually tried one of these yesterday, and it was absolutely amazing. Real meaty, not as many seeds, and it was super tasty. Almost, this is gonna sound weird for a cucumber, almost had a nutty flavor to it. I'm trying to find one for you, and I just, it's such a canopy, like you can't even really see. I know there was a couple in there yesterday because I saw them, but I guess we're not gonna see them today. So we're gonna go through here and back over to the garden. That's a companion plant there, just of a lime basil. And then there's some more peppers, some heatless habaneros that I'm really looking forward to. And on the end there are lemon cucumbers. And through the middle, the sunflowers. So let's walk over here. We gotta go through the gate here to get into the garden. The big garden. I mean, it's all the garden, but you know, the garden we're used to here. Make sure it's shut, or else we'll have a horse eating the garden and swimming in the pool. So here is the cardoon bed. Cardoon is in the artichoke family, and these are onions that have gone to blossom. I like them because they look really cool. They look like truffula trees to me, like off of Dr. Seuss. And it amazes me, but the bees absolutely love the blooms. You wouldn't think there was a bunch of pollen in there, but they have so many flowers and stuff to choose from, and yet they absolutely love these onion blooms. So I just sacrifice the onions. After they go to bloom, they really aren't that good. So I just sacrifice the onions for the bees, because the pollinators are super important, of course, for any garden. They're super important. We do have our little pollinator houses, which have worked really well this year. That bottom one is a carpenter bee, and I don't want to open it because I just saw some fly in there. They make their nests and then hatch out from there. So those are torch tithonias. That's a Mexican sunflower that's growing up so nice there. This is a cardoon. This is actually in the artichoke family. As you can see, it's got like real prickly things here. And what you do is you cut off this leaf, and you have this middle piece here that you see, and that's the part you cook, and it tastes just like an artichoke heart. I haven't tried it yet. I'm trying to let Mr. Cardoon grow and do his thing and get kind of healthy before I cut anything off of him yet. So I'll let you know what he tastes like. Scan the garden here. We have decided, I think in the last video I said that we were going to put pine straw down on our landscape fabric, and we have decided we're just going to keep it the landscape fabric. It's really easy to keep it clean, which also helps with pest control and just keeping diseases out. And we just take the blower and we blow it off. Also, if I want to run out here barefoot, I can, and with the pine straw I can't necessarily. So our dahlias are blooming. My friend Lisa has inspired me to try dahlias, and I did, and I'm so excited. Look at how pretty. These things are probably a good 10 inches, 11 inches around. Just beautiful. And then I've got others blooming. We also, our lotuses are getting ready to bloom. And those are some really pretty blooms. You know I'll be showing you those. And the canis is in high bloom. It's just a really pretty time of year in the garden. It's getting pretty wild. It's starting to grow off into areas that I can no longer control, but that's part of the fun of gardening too. So, anybody want some tomatillos free? I will just give them to you because everybody needs a bed full of tomatillos. This literally, with the exception of 2 stray random tomato plants, which I have no idea. They wanted to live and I didn't have the heart to not let them live. This is all the colors of the tomatillos. There's yellow, there's purple, there's green. Next year, remind me, just because I have the seeds doesn't mean I have to do all the things. And so these guys too are almost outgrowing their cattle panel. Oh, hi Oreo. I'm sorry, you want a little attention? What you doing there, Green Eyes? You say hello? Hi, big girl. Sorry, you always gotta give the cat some scratches. Hi, big girl. While we're here, I guess we can talk about the strawberry tower, huh? So this is a green stalk. I'll get back to the tomatillos. I didn't forget, I promise. This is called a green stalk, and I think it's greenstalk.com. Amazing. This is the 7-tier leaf pocket. So you can grow all sorts of things. We happen to have strawberries in here. You fill each tier with your soil, and then you put your plant in there. And on the top, it has a pretty cool watering system. So depending on how many tiers you have, then you put that much water in it, and it will appropriately distribute it throughout the tiers. So like the top tier doesn't get all the water, it goes down to the bottom tier and then fills it from there. The strawberries were just planted, so they'll fill out. Second year, I think, is, and third year, the highest productions for strawberries. Although these guys are already starting to throw out runners. So we can take the runners and pot them up for new plants. Are you giving your kitty some love? She wants some love from you, Koa. Silly boy. So tomatillo bed, back to there, going crazy. I did clip them up a little bit, and I'm trying to keep them tied up, but boy, that's a struggle. They grow so much, every day I come out and it seems like they're taller. This bed over here ended up kind of being a hodgepodge. We'll have probably better plans for it next year. These were leftover pepper plants that we couldn't just bear to kill and just throw away. We'd given away so many plant starts and sold so many, we just were kind of done with that. And then these are all different cosmos in here that I want to save seeds from. Some candy stripe ones and some other really pretty ones. So let's pan around and we'll look around here. Another known fact, this is a Tetra Snapdragon mix, which are looking rough now, but because that's my fault, I didn't realize that they live through the summer. I thought they were just a cold weather plant. So I need to clip them back and feed them, and they'll probably come back. So I'll have to get on that because I've really enjoyed them. Our ornamental onions are blooming. So the bees will be all over these here as soon as they really open up. And I'll probably have to separate those out because they have really gotten thick. Our comfrey is probably, let's see, if I'm 5'9", this comfrey is definitely up almost to my shoulders. That's how tall this comfrey is. Oop, I'm sorry, kitty. And so that's my little helper cat. It's gotten really tall. We've been using it as a chop and drop mulch, and I've been drying it to make a healing salve, which so far is going really well. And there's some more dahlias and some coleus over there and some other flowers, some calendula. So let's take a look at our other beds that are just going crazy. So let's do this one straight on. This is the artichoke bed. Remember those little tiny itty bitty artichokes that I wasn't sure if they were going to live or not? Look at these guys. These little arties are really doing great business around here. And these are onions that are interplanted there. We cook a lot of Asian food, so we use a lot of green onions. And so we just come out here and we take a couple leaves as we need them. These are gooseberries. Sorry, I had to think for a second. These are kind of like in the pineapple ground cherry family, but these are even more velvety. I've never had them before. That's a new grow for me this year. Probably going to regret planting them there because I have a feeling they're probably going to get pretty big. My thought was that this trellis could help support it. I don't know. I think they're going to be pretty big. So down here, they're also taking over, so I'm going to have to clip these back. We've got some more noodle beans, and there's a jicama plant down in there somewhere, if it can make it. So we'll see if it can get up to the top or not, and get enough going on with it. Over here is, you guessed it, another pepper bed. Look at how tall those peppers are. So that box right there is probably 6 foot tall at the very top of that box, and they are well over the halfway mark. So peppers like to be planted close together. So there's 2 plants per section, if you will. We call it, they like to hold hands or touch shoulders when they grow, and they certainly have enjoyed that. This pepper plant right here, I mean, I hope the peppers are amazing, but look at that foliage. That in itself is absolutely incredible. This is called pepper fish, and I think it's a little bit spicy. I gotta go back and look in my records and see. This is the bed that I can actually eat a few things out of, because it's not burn your face off spicy. Oreo, what you doing, kitty? Kitty, 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 kitty. That bed over there is basil and dill and some more okra. That's an orange okra. I can't remember the name of it. And here's another cucumber bed for more. These are different variations of cucumbers. These are munchers, and you can see, oops, come on, Maeve, help us out here. You can see the munchers growing down there, and it's probably just about time to pick those. Those are great for fermenting. Oh yeah, look, we had some rain. Things go nuts, and they hide from you. So there's munchers. We also have gherkins. Now, I think out of all the cucumbers we grow, which we probably have 8 or 9 varieties right now, the gherkins and that dragon egg is probably, they're probably my favorites of all. Oh, there's a bumble. Hey, Mr. Bumblebee. I did thin these out a little bit. It seems to help the pollinators find the flowers a little bit better. This one on the end is an Armenian cucumber. It's actually in the melon family. But if you eat it when it's small, it eats like a really nice cucumber. It has a lot more disease resistance, and it can handle the heat pressure that we get here probably in the next 2 weeks. Although it's been in the 90s this week, so I don't know. It's probably going to be a super hot summer, super hot. This is our lemongrass here, and calendula bed and basil. I actually cooked with the lemongrass this week, and it was amazing. We must have had some bugs here too, because Greg put DE on these guys. Tried something new this year. I am trellising and trimming our squash and zucchini plants. I love it. If you have not done this or have never done this, I highly suggest it. Look at how easy it is to see those plants. I also feel like I'm getting an increased yield because the pollinators can actually find the flowers. You can see how many of those branches I've cut off, and they take so much space in the garden when you let them just grow to abandon. I'm surprised we still have stuff in here. We just did a huge harvest yesterday of all these. There's 8-ball squash, golden zucchini, and the squash on the end is slick pick. That wasn't even big enough to pull yesterday. Another one where the leaves are just gorgeous. So trellis them and clip them up. If you want me to show you the videos that I watched, this is my first year doing it, I'm happy to share that with you. So here's the front of the garden. We're kind of coming in from the back, and that arch is really starting to fill out nicely, as you can tell. And these tomatoes are a good example of keeping them aggressively trimmed. The tomatoes are turning really nicely. Got great airflow down in there. These were incredibly bushy, and these are like way taller than the trellis. Those things are probably 14 feet high now and just full of fruit, absolutely full of fruit. And you can see the tomatoes are starting to turn. We have picked a couple tomatoes off now at this point, but this aggressive pruning, I try to do a single leader, which means just one stem. Sometimes I was successful, like this guy, this Katie's Pink Lemonade here, I was successful. And then you go up and there's just tons of fruit, and then I'll keep trimming that. So I'm leaving the fruit with a little bit of canopy right there just to protect it from the sun. But as soon as those turn, I'll keep trimming it up for that airflow. Really has done a great number for disease and production. Look at all of these tomatoes. This is Berry's Crazy Cherry yellow tomatoes. Look at all those clusters. I mean, it's just huge. All of those flowers right there will all be another huge cluster. Absolutely ginormous. And there. And there. And Mr. Bumble and the sunflower. So this tomato bed and the next one, I've done a really good job of keeping up with it. But I tell you, it is almost a full-time job trying to keep up with that. Also found just a random, I don't know how I haven't noticed it. I don't know what kind of tomato it is. I'm just going to let it grow. If it insists on growing that much and it wants to live, well, I got to let it live. Our little snail friend. Here's our more unique variations of tomatoes here on the front. This is an orange banana. That's what they call an orange banana tomato. It's long, it's going to turn orange. And once again, doing the trimming on this one, and just tons and tons of fruits like everywhere. I really am a firm believer. I've never aggressively trimmed to this extent before, but I think this is the ticket. This is banana legs, and this is going to be yellow. And once again, they're just kind of odd shaped little fruits. I just thought it'd be fun to try them. And this is a green zebra. You can tell it's just super pretty here. So I got a new camera. I'm working with the whole focusing and stuff. Cuckoo melons. People were asking about our cuckoo melons. These are also called Mexican sour gherkins. And these are ripe. You can pick 4 or 5 handfuls of these every day. They taste like a cucumber with a lime, little bit of a hint of lime. And they're just these little tiny vines. So you can plant them amongst other things, and they're super crunchy. I don't know if you could hear that or not. And it's not even cold because it's been out here on the vine. There's Kajari melons down here, which are starting to make their way if they don't hurry up. The cuckoo melons are going to beat them. But if we look up and over, that sunset's so pretty. We have our Trombonecini squash. Look at that cool guy right there. We got some cool Trombonecini squash. And it is going to take over this. I guarantee you. Look at that canopy it's already creating. It's probably going to go all the way over to the other side and then come all the way back. I bet. So we'll move on. These tomatoes I've also trimmed up. Now these are slicer tomatoes. All those other ones were cherry tomatoes. And so I've also done the aggressive pruning on these guys. And so you can see the tomatoes are really getting a chance to put all that energy and production into the tomatoes and not as much into the leaves, because you want to grow fruit, not just a bunch of green leaves, right? So this is a pork chop tomato. They're red and yellow striped. That's another green zebra there. Some more interplanted flowers and some other tomatoes on that side. The squashes are going to take over the entire land, I think. Look at these. This is, I got to double check. I think this is the butternut squash trellis. And every day we are also out here trying to get this thing to train it to the trellis. It will cover this trellis as well, all the way over. But it has really just taken off. So we've had to do a little bit of aggressive trellising there. This Kajari melon is much farther along than its friend over there. Probably isn't competing as much for sun as it is over in the other bed. These Kajari melons are beautiful. I can't wait to show you those. This one, if I turn you around, we have another trellis. We're really doing a lot of vertical growing this year. This is the personal spaghetti squashes that will also cover that entire trellis. I don't know if they have any fruits yet, but they do have blossoms. So they are going to start fruiting. Yeah, they'll start fruiting here pretty soon. If you heard that, that's a horse kicking the barn thinking he's going to get fed. Being a brat. These are also slicer tomatoes. Now this is a difference. I haven't actually gotten to trim this bed yet. And so you can see how bushy these things are. And honestly, I don't think the fruit production is as good in this bed. We have lots of fruits in here, but I don't think it's as good in this bed as it is in the other beds where I've really trimmed it up. This is a Hawaiian pineapple. So it's just now, it is a little bit of a later producer. So maybe I can't judge it based on that. My pink boar tomatoes, they're wonderful tomatoes, but I've been having issues with them with blossom end rot, a lot of leaf curl. Look, there's a bunch of blossom end rot right there. So I didn't know if it was inconsistent watering. I added some calcium. Anybody has any thoughts on that? I am open. I am all ears. But we are getting, on some of these, we're getting a lot of nice fruit in here. It's just a little bit harder to find. So my job this week is to trim this bed up. This one's got a lot. Look at that one's pretty. That's a Paul Robeson. That's going to be a purple. Those will turn purple tomatoes there. Probably should get some nice sized tomatoes up in there. So exciting. But I need to trim them out, and those sunflowers you can see in there are also dying back, so I need to pull those guys out. And probably that guy would like to be attached to the cattle panel. I don't know. Give him a little extra support, you know. Haven't done too much on this side over here. Flowers are blooming and our Jerusalem artichoke has taken off. We honestly have been so busy with the rest of the stuff we haven't even had a chance. Basil at the end of the bed. This is a hot pepper bed here too that we need to thin out. These two beds down here just seem to get the least amount of love because they're the farthest from the barn. Oops, somebody's broken off. I'll have to come out here sooner than later and tie some friends up, huh? Sorry, friend. Are you broken? I might be able to save you, we'll see. So the peppers, we do have a lot of peppers going on here too. Cayenne peppers, lemon drop peppers. That's Bootjalakia ghost peppers there. Looks like Greg was in here trimming stuff out a little bit today. This is the bed that we have to literally wear gloves in order to handle those peppers because they are so hot. I wanted to show you a beautiful tomato in here. This is a Brad's Black Heart plant right here. Let me see, right behind this variegated nasturtium. Look at this pretty. I don't know if we'll be able to see it with this light. Look at how pretty. It's gonna be a black tomato. So pretty. I don't know if anybody else geeks out at pretty tomatoes and stuff like I do. I know that might be kind of silly. So I think I've covered just about everything in the garden for this week. I think in another week it'll be like taking us over and you might not be able to find us. So if you don't hear from us for a while and we send out an SOS, come dig us out of the garden because this is probably where we'll be, somewhere amongst all these hot peppers that are growing like crazy. So there's your garden tour. We'll talk to you next time.